Good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year to you all. I hope everyone has enjoyed the holiday season. Welcome to the season premiere of season 2 of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. The time is now 1:05 by my clock, and I am calling this meeting to order. Ms. Hogan, can you please read the notice of public meeting?
Madam Chairwoman, this is a meeting of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Senator Byron M. Baer Open Public Meetings Act. The meeting was noticed in the Asbury Park Press, Atlantic City Express, Bergen Record, Courier Post, and the Trenton Times in April 2021. Information regarding the virtual nature of the meeting due to the COVID-19 pandemic was posted in publications and on the CRC website. The meeting time and location has also been posted on the website of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission and with the Office of the Secretary of State.
Thank you. Can you please take roll call?
Commissioner Barker,
Present.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Present.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Present.
Commissioner Nash,
Present.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Present.
All members of the commission are present and we now have a quorum. The first order of business is for the commission to go into executive session to discuss legal and litigation updates. These are discussions that are not shared with the public. We believe the executive session should take about 1 hour.
Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Nash and seconded by Commissioner Del Cid. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of going into executive session say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. The commission will now go into executive session. Again, we expect the executive session to last approximately 1 hour. We'll leave the live stream running during that time and we'll return once the executive session is done. We can expect to resume the open public session at about 2:08 p.m. Thank you for your patience, everyone. All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for your patience. The executive session has now ended. It is now 2:02 and we will now resume the open public portion of this meeting. Ms. Hogan, can you please announce the next agenda item?
The next item on today's agenda is approving the minutes of both the commission's open session and executive session held on December 7th, 2021. The minutes have been shared and reviewed by the members of the commission prior to this meeting.
Thank you. If there are no questions, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the meeting minutes for December 7th, 2021. Is there a motion to adopt the meeting minutes?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we adopt the minutes.
All right, moved by Vice Chair Delgado. Do I have a second?
I second that, Madam Chair.
Seconded by Commissioner Barker. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the December 7th meeting minutes, say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the ayes have it and the motion is carried.
The next item on today's agenda is the chair's report.
Thank you. I again want to welcome everyone to this meeting of the CRC, and I wish everyone a happy new year. As we are kicking off the year 2022, I just want to take a moment to reiterate some of the accomplishments that the commission has had last year. So we set out to stand up this brand new agency that has its work centered around 3 pillars: enhancing the medicinal cannabis program, engaging with the public, and launching our adult use cannabis industry. And so we've done a lot of work doing that. And we've had many of the people watching today's meeting, you all have been a part of that as well by sharing your ideas and your concerns and raising questions for the commission's consideration as we set about doing that work. This year, in 2022, we've got a couple of focuses. We'll be launching our recreational or adult use cannabis industry. Our next round of applications that will open up start on March 15th, when people can start applying for the Class 5 retail license. And eventually in 2022, we will get started on evaluating and hopefully approving applications that have been submitted to the commission. So we all look forward to that. Also on our priority list for 2022 is completing formal rule proposals for adopting permanent regulations for the adult use industry, as well as submitting a formal rule proposal updating our medicinal regulations as well. And so we've got a lot of work ahead of us. We've done a tremendous job in 2021 in just 8 months. And we've got even more work that lies ahead of us for 2022. But I'm confident that we'll be able to reach these milestones in a strong way. And we, of course, welcome all of our attendees to participate and continue to engage with us, continue to partner with us as we do this work. And so that is it, just a very short chair's report to kick us off for 2022. Thank you. Ms. Hogan, you can now announce the next agenda item.
Next, we have our executive director's report.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hogan. Thank you, Madam Chair. So today I'm going to cover 3 primary items in the executive director's report. First, cultivator and manufacturer application acceptance. And if you could go to the next slide, please. The update on the 2019 RFA awards, since we made those in the last quarter of 2021. And then I'm going to cover expanded ATC certifications, which is the mechanism by which currently permitted alternative treatment centers can certify that they are ready to begin recreational cannabis sales. Next slide, please. So application acceptance for cultivators and manufacturers, Class 1 cultivators, Class 2 manufacturers, and testing laboratories began on December 15th, 2021 at 9 a.m. I'm happy to report that aside from short outages for site maintenance, the application system has been consistently operational and accepting applications. And as of the 5th, as of Wednesday, we have received 300 total applications in the system, paid for and ready to be reviewed. Over 1,500 user accounts have been created in the application system. So breaking down the applications by the 2 main types, annual licenses and conditional licenses. And for those who don't remember, conditional licenses are a temporary license by which an entity can get licensed without having a site purchased or leased, without having municipal approval, without having their business essentially fully built out. Of the 300 applications we've received, 86.7% are conditional applications and 13.3% are annual applications. Next slide, please. So breaking those applications down even further, you could see the majority of applications received are diversely owned business applications. Those are applications by businesses that have certified that they're either a minority business enterprise, women-owned business enterprise, or veteran-owned, disabled veteran-owned business, and have been certified by the Department of the Treasury. The next highest number here are social equity business applications. And I'll note the disclaimer here, you know, these numbers represent what the applicants have designated in the system. They do not necessarily represent what those applicants actually are. So all these applications will need to be vetted and appropriately reviewed to ensure they comply with the requirements of those different types. We have 31 impact zone business applications, 8 that are applying with bonus points for either project labor agreements, collective bargaining agreements, or residency, and then 12 general pool applications. So we've already received a tremendous number of applications. Most of them are conditional, and conditional applicants will then have to, if approved, then get site control, get municipal approval, get everything in order to then apply via a conversion application and convert to annual. But we have received some annual applications as well. A lot of social equity business applications and a lot of diversely owned business applications, which we like to see. Certainly, you know, once those are reviewed, we'll be able to have a better sense of their compliance. But that's where things stand right now with application acceptance. Overall, it's been a successful month. There have been minor bugs. I'm sure there's some applicants who experienced some issues. There's tech support available through the app. And then we have a dedicated email address that we're constantly reviewing and getting back to people on. Next slide, please. So moving on to the 2019 RFA awards. I'm going to start with the vertically integrated awardees and cultivation awardees. There were 4 vertically integrated awardees and 10 cultivation awardees. And these awardees are in the investigatory stage of permitting. So they've all shown that they have site control, all shown that if they had a certification for being minority owned, woman owned, or disabled or veteran owned, that they still maintain that certification. They've all shown they have municipal approval to move forward at the sites they're at. And so where they are in the process now is the verification of information supplied in the application, going through the criminal history background check process for anybody who's required to do that pursuant to statute or regulation, and then the verification of compliance with conditions in those final agency decisions regarding ownership, regarding alignment with what's in the application and things like that. Next slide, please. With dispensaries, the awardees had 5 business days to accept the award. And then by January 6th, yesterday, they needed to submit proof of site control, proof of municipal approval, and then proof of MBE, WBE, or veteran-owned business certification status if they had it or were scored as being able to get it. We have not, commission staff have not reviewed those yet since they came in, since the deadline was yesterday. But I do know we got a flurry of submissions yesterday, and those will be reviewed, and then we'll have a sense for the number of awardees there who are moving forward in the process. Next slide, please. So now turning to expanded ATC certifications, this is designated by law. So in the law, it's designated that existing alternative treatment centers do not need to go through that formal application process that I just outlined, that we started on December 15th to begin recreational sales. What they have to do is they have to prove they have adequate supply to serve both patients and recreational consumers. They have to prove they can expand to recreational dispensing without impacting service to patients. And then they have to submit proof of municipal approval for the licenses that they're seeking. So CRC guidance on the ATC certifications that we released in November also requires ATCs to submit plans and firm commitments to addressing our core values in these conversions, and those being equity and safety. The process for approval of expanded ATC certifications will be a review of the certification submissions for completeness, a review of the ATC supply and operational capacity to expand, and that includes both an ATC specific and market assessment, a review of plans and commitment to equity and safety, being our two core values. And then if that is all good, then a staff recommendation to the commission, to all of you. And then if the chair agrees, a commission agenda item for a vote to approve or deny ATC expansion. If approved, then an ATC would have to undergo an inspection to ensure compliance with the full regulatory requirements in the recreational or personal use cannabis rules that were adopted in August. So to date, we've received 4 certifications. No determinations have, and that's out of 12 currently permitted ATCs. The awardees from 2019 do not have permits yet. So 4 certifications have been received and are under review. No determinations or timelines for the completion of the review process have been established at this time. Many of them came in at the end of last year. So we're reviewing those, and as we move forward, more information will be available on those. And that is the conclusion of my report for today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Brown. So can you please announce the next agenda item?
Next up on the agenda is the consideration of 2018 RFA final agency decisions.
Director Brown, can you please provide a summary of the 2018 RFA, the pending applications, and staff's recommendations on these applications?
Yes, thank you very much. Here before you is a resolution concerning 2018 RFA final agency decisions. I'm going to provide a history here, an overview of the process, overview of the context that we were faced when we issued the 2018 RFA under the Department of Health, and some of the steps we've taken as part of the remand process. Next slide, please. So some key dates here. This RFA was originally issued on July 16th, 2018, and it was for 6 vertically integrated permits, 2 in each region. The reason it was for only vertically integrated permits is because the rules that were in place at the time only allowed for vertical integration. Further, the statute at that time was not the amended statute we have now under Jay Koenig's law. It was in fact the original Compassionate Use Medicinal Marijuana Act. So the RFA was issued on July 16th of 2018, and then awards were issued on December 17th of 2018. So, especially for those of you who went through the 2019 RFA process, this was a relatively quick process with a speedy turnaround. That's not to say there wasn't a tremendous amount of work involved in this as well. Applicants who were denied had to file appeals by January 31st, 2019, and ultimately those appeals that were filed were decided and that remained in appeal in November 2020. They were decided on November 25th of 2020. Next slide, please. So the context for the 2018 RFA is I think really important to understanding a lot of the choices we made and a lot of the issues sort of surrounding how it was run. And I wanted to show the patient enrollment in 2018, and you could see that when at the beginning of 2018, we were averaging, the Department of Health was averaging under 1,000 patients every month. And while it's not on the slide, if you go back into 2017, those numbers were even lower. And what happened at the beginning of 2018 was the Governor Murphy issued his 6th executive order, directed the Department of Health to look at the medicinal marijuana program and make recommendations on how to improve access for patients, make it easier for doctors to sign up so we could get more doctors to participate, and loosen some regulations on the industry to make it easier to expand and provide more accessibility to patients. So the department undertook a review of the statutes, a review of the regulations, and then in March, towards the end of March, issued a report to the governor, the EO6 report, which outlined a number of recommendations. And they were recommendations that first set were those that could be done administratively and be done immediately, those that required a change in regulations, and then those that required statutory changes. Importantly, one of the changes, two of the changes that were made immediately, one was to add 5 new conditions for which medicinal marijuana could be recommended. Those included 2 types of chronic pain, anxiety, a couple other conditions, chronic pain and anxiety, though, being the 2 we've seen the most enrollment under, as well as a drop in the enrollment fees. So it used to be $200 every 2 years to enroll if you didn't qualify for a discount. That was dropped to $100 every 2 years if you don't qualify for a discount. So those changes in particular resulted in an immediate expansion and immediate rise in the number of patients who are enrolling every month. And at the time that EO6 report was issued, we only had 5 alternative treatment centers serving the entire patient population. Granted, it was only 18,000 patients, but there were only 5 that were open and operational. The 6th was still not operational. And then you can see, following those initial reforms, immediately in April, 1,700 patients, then 2,700, then in July, 3,000, and really we leveled off into a new normal of enrolling about 3,000 patients per month. And again, although the 6th alternative treatment center opened in July and started dispensing, that's still only 6 alternative treatment centers. And in June, when the RFA was issued, we hit 25,000 patients, and there was no sign of slowing down. So the RFA was issued in July. The applications were due at the end of August, and then review commenced. Review included a completeness review and then scoring of any applications that were found to be complete and were ready for scoring. I'll cover this later, but we were watching the patient enrollment every month, every week, sometimes every day, and the pressure was really on to get these awards out as quickly as possible to address this growing patient need. Next slide, please. So I mentioned in November 2020, there was a decision by the Appellate Division of the Superior Court in New Jersey. That decision vacated the final agency decisions of 6 applicants and remanded them to the Department of Health for further proceedings. The opinion raised issues with scoring in the 2018 RFA, quality control, and due process for applicants. The opinion provided options for the department to consider for the remand review, but did not prescribe a specific administrative proceeding to be used. So under the Department of Health, and if you could just go back one slide. So as part of the remand process, under the Department of Health, we established a quality control committee to look at the RFA, to look at what was done, the scores, look at the issues raised by the appellants, and then ultimately help us make determinations. As part of the process, appellants were given the applicants whose FADs were vacated and remanded to us. They were given 60 days to provide supplemental submissions to the department outlining questions and issues with the RFA and scoring. And then respondents, the awardees from that RFA, were provided 30 days once they received those appellant supplemental submissions to then file a response. So under the department, and if you could just go back one slide, please. Thank you. Under the Department of Health, we attempted to begin the process originally on, I believe it was January 8th, 2021. And that was with an abbreviated timeline that was then expanded based on some of the concerns raised by appellants. So originally it was, I believe, 30 days for them to respond and then 15 for respondents. We tried to start it again on January 29th. They're expanding the timeline by which appellants could respond to 60 days and respondents to 30 days. We provided some more detail on the Quality Control Committee and exactly how the process would run. And then we received letters outlining more concerns by the appellants, the applicants in question here, and responded to them finally on February 26, 2021, noting that we were not going to amend the process and that we wish to move forward with it. 5 of the 6 of that group then took the department back to the appellate division before the appellate division found in the department's favor, and then they ultimately complied with the process. Notably, we're the Cannabis Regulatory Commission now. The CRC assumed authority upon formation on April 12th, 2021. So the Quality Control Committee really did several things. So first, an administrative review, a look at the RFA itself, kind of the policy decisions, the design of the RFA, how it was run. Secondly, a review of the scores, the applications themselves, and the supplemental submissions that we received, including those from respondents and the appellant applicants. We conducted a statistical review of the scores themselves, and then ultimately helped the commission staff develop responses and determinations based on the supplemental submissions and those reviews. So some key components of the 2018 RFA and the design thereof. So the RFA featured, the development and issuance of the RFA to address key needs in the medicinal market. It really aligned with our core statutory charge to ensure access for patients. We set up under the department education and communication opportunities with potential applicants about the RFA through both written Q&A and a pre-application conference. There was a pre-application conference in person back when you could do such things. And there were roughly 900 people in attendance at that conference. And then we responded to every written question that we received that was responsive to the RFA itself. And the reason that the department that we did that was because it was the first RFA in 7 years, and it was a new opportunity for many applicants, and it was the start of a new industry here in New Jersey. So we received hundreds of questions and provided responses to everyone. There were strict deadlines for the submission of materials. There was an in-depth completeness review of applications to ensure that only complete applications were scored. There was comprehensive scoring by a highly qualified selection committee. And then there was a selection of awards based on those scores of the selection committee and in accordance with a formula based on patient needs. So the department developed a formula to determine which region should be chosen first, because applicants could be submit in multiple regions, and the department chose not to select more than one applicant in more than one region. So going back to the context, I wanted to highlight a couple of stressors on the 2018 RFA that we did recognize in the administrative review. So first, the department developed a complex application that was really meant to prioritize selection of experienced companies that could get operational quickly, expand with the market, and address the significant expansion in the patient population in New Jersey. For those who participated in the 2018 RFA, you certainly know that was a comprehensive application. It was 300-page limit, a lot of different things in there. The department throughout the process, because of that expanding patient population, because we really faced unprecedented expansion, essentially a new environment for the program that it had never encountered since inception, the department pushed the selection committee aggressively to finish the process so the awards could be issued, implementation could begin, and the market could avoid significant supply shortages. And if you could go back one slide, please. So I'll just note that looking at the score review portion that the Quality Control Committee conducted, they really found that 2 measures in the RFA were responsible for a lot of the variation, where you had some scores at the top end of a score and others at the bottom end. And those were criterion 1, measure 5, financial suitability, and criterion 2, measure 3, diversity. And so for criterion, so what the Quality Control Committee did was first, there was that original investigative look at where the variation occurred. And then secondly, there was, we looked at the applications, the scores received, what they submitted, and essentially the Quality Control Committee looked at that ranking to see if it was indeed consistent with the quality of the responses. And you can go to the next slide now. And so for financial suitability, this is the ranking. You see the total composite score received by the applicants, and then the rank here, with Netta, which is now named Terrascend, ranking number 1, and Pangea, which is one of the applicants still in question here, ranking at number 12. Ultimately, for this measure, the Quality Control Committee found that the composite scores worked out pretty well. Even though there was variation, this ranking was consistent with the quality of the scores. And for the commissioners, in your recommendation report, you have an outline of some of the characteristics that the Quality Control Committee found in high scores and low scores, and the consistency there. Next slide, please. And I'll just note, well, here on criterion 2, measure 3, diversity, that was another one where there was a significant amount of variation among scores. So again, the Quality Control Committee looked at the applications, looked at the composite scores received. Those are the actual scores delivered to the applicants, and then the rank, between the awardees and then the applicants that are still under consideration here today, and again, found some consistent themes to the applications who scored most highly. For this, I can tell, as outlined in the recommendation report, the 2 highest scores had certifications. They had WBE certifications, and then as you get lower, they pledged to get certifications, had good submissions about the diversity of their employees, management, and then when you get to the bottom, there's really not a ton of detail about the or pledges to diversity in the company. Less detail. The one at the bottom, for the number 12 score here for the certifications, simply submitted not applicable. So again, and I think with both these, the Quality Control Committee found that, maybe there were some slight rankings that they would change if they were doing it over, but nothing, they found no evidence to suggest that this was, they were arbitrary, capricious, or unreasonable, or that the department should, or commission should go back and revisit any of these scores. Next slide, please. So beyond the review of those scores, we also conducted a statistical review, and this involved taking all of the scores of each scorer and assessing them for consistency. Importantly, it's in something like this where scores are scoring individually, it is more important to have them be individually consistent with in their own scores versus consistent across scores. And so the commission staff ran each scores through a statistical analysis. The only statistical outliers that were found were at the lower end, the far low end of the score, the really low scoring applicants. None of the applicants under question today or the awardees were inconsistent statistically in any way, shape, or form. And I have reviewer 3 here because one of the applicants in question today, they took issue with reviewer 3 in particular. And reviewer 3 actually had some of the more consistent scores among the scores. Reviewer 3 was also one of the tougher graders, so on a lot of cases gave lower overall scores than some of the other scores. Next slide, please. But even though internal consistency, that is consistency by a scorer within their own scores, is more important than consistency across scores, nonetheless, we also did look at consistency across scores. And, a couple things jump out here. Number one, there were 3 reviewers who were tougher graders and 3 who, were more, liberal in their scores. But most importantly, the selected entities were really the ones where all 6 reviewers agreed that they should be high scores. So the 6 selected entities in the 2018 RFA were the ones that consistently scored high by this highly qualified selection committee with a diverse array of backgrounds. Next slide, please. So the Quality Control Committee also looked at different issues, specific instances raised by the applicants under consideration today. Issues where they said a score was potentially unexplainable, or it had to be arbitrary, capricious, or unreasonable. And really, in looking closely at these, the quality control committee was able to find rationale for why a score was given, and these are some of the reasons why the quality control committee found there could be scoring variation. So one is the result of different expertise of selection committee members. So thinking about the first criterion measure, which was all about the background of principals, board members, the key people in the organization, and there with a selection committee that has a diverse range of professional experience, as this selection committee did, each one's going to bring a slightly different view to that review. And, for example, one applicant included individuals in their application that the department was familiar with. And so two of the selection committee members who had experience with the medicinal marijuana program were really keen on picking up some inconsistencies in that application with the actual record of these individuals as they were under the department. Similarly, if an applicant, submitted something that was, way out of left field pertaining to cultivation methodology, there you would have the selection committee member from the Department of Agriculture probably picking up on it, or if they submitted something, out of left field on laboratory science, you'd have another member of the selection committee from the Department of Health picking up on it. The purpose of the selection committee with diverse experiences was to bring that full rounded comprehensive experience to bear on these reviews. So some other reasons for variation: ambivalence or otherwise convoluted answers from applicants. So in a lot of cases, applicants will spend a lot of time explaining, sort of trying to mask through prose, a potential answer that might not be compliant with the measure that the selection committee member is evaluating. We saw a lot of cases of that where they would say sort of one thing, and different selection committee members would respond in different ways. There were some issues with non-compliance with RFA requirements, so page limits and sizes. So there was one applicant where two selection committee members gave them zeros on the final measure of their application, and the reason for that was because they, in fact, they submitted electronically, but they did not electronically sign their application, and so if the department had released that application to the selection committee, number one, it wasn't compliant because it wasn't signed. But number two, the data in that application was could still be changed. And so the department would have been releasing an application that could have been edited by the selection committee. When they're signed, they're locked. And so there we had a full paper copy. We scanned it. Unfortunately, that applicant included an extra page in their paper copy, and it was 301 pages and not 300. And two selection committee members caught it and docked them on that last measure. Similarly, there was another applicant who did not failed to submit electronically, even though they only submitted one paper copy when they were supposed to submit 10. And there they submitted floor plans that were gigantic. To this day, they're sitting in a box and they've broken the box because they're so big. And we did have restrictions. It's clear guidance in the RFA as to size of page and submissions. And, here it was so out of compliance with that. And that's not to say that everything had to comply, but it was so out of compliance that some selection committee members clearly penalized them for it. Another reason was submission of contradictory or different information for different answers on the same application. And going back to the financials, this was a case where you'd see with applicants for the measure on experience, touting, their experience in other states and, how they have dispensaries in XYZ state. And then it comes to the financial and they say, well, we don't have any history of financial history. We're a new entity in New Jersey and we have no history of paying taxes. And so, in some of those cases, they did submit, even if they submitted other stuff, selection committee members penalized them because they felt that, at least it seemed disingenuous upon review that they would tout all this experience and then come to finances and say, well, we don't have any for this entity. So those were some of the reasons why we, why there's scoring variation, why the quality control committee, really noticed variation occurred on measures where these things were happening. So next slide, please. So overall, following this comprehensive review of the 2018 RFA of the process, the review of scores, review of the supplemental submissions, statistical analysis of the scores to ensure they're statistically sound. Ultimately, the finding is that although imperfect, there's no clear and convincing evidence that scores should be amended in the 2018 RFA. The Quality Control Committee did not find any evidence of any arbitrary and capricious rationale behind scores, behind any of the determinations made by the selection committee. And so the recommendation of commission staff to the commission is that the six applicants in question here and the applications in question should be denied because their applications were scored by highly qualified selection committee members. Selections were made by the department according to data, and the Quality Control Committee found no evidence to conclude decisions or scores should be revised. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Brown. That was very helpful and detailed, informative summary of the items here and the work that the staff have done. Do I hear a motion related to this matter?
Chairwoman, I move to adopt a resolution concerning this final agency decisions on remand applications that were submitted pursuant to the 2018 request for applications process.
Moved by Commissioner Del Cid. Do I hear a second?
Madam Chair, I second this motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Ms. Hogan, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next on the agenda is the consideration of project approval for statewide inventory tracking system.
Thank you. Director Brown, can you please provide a summary of the project that is under consideration?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I promise this will be shorter than the last one. Inventory management systems allow regulators to effectively ensure regulatory compliance with inventory standards, assist with accurate reporting of sales data, prevent the sale of cannabis to underage consumers, prevent the adulteration of legal cannabis products with harmful substances, and prevent diversion from legal regulated markets to illegal markets. In order to achieve those measures for the CRC, the Commission's board, commissioners, you have before you a project plan to establish a comprehensive industry-leading inventory management system. METRIC, MTRC, stands for Marijuana Enforcement Tracking, Reporting, and Compliance. They provide track and trace inventory tracking systems to the majority of states with cannabis markets. And they're currently contracted with the state of New Jersey to provide SaaS software as a service. Through this contract, Metric is ready to deploy an industry-leading regulator-focused data-driven inventory management system that's compliant with the provisions of PL 2021 Chapter 16, which requires us to have a statewide inventory management system and the rules adopted by this commission in August. I'm seeking, as the executive director and staff, we're seeking board approval of the scope of work with Metric, which would enable the commission to utilize the Metric platform for a term of 6 years at a cost of $65,000 per year, totaling $390,000. Under the proposed scope of work, Metric will provide a production-ready web-based track and trace system to manage the cannabis supply chain from seed to sale in New Jersey. This includes fully configured software, radio frequency identification tags, data management, reporting, training, and support to the commission, and training and support to all user groups, which includes user groups in the industry, i.e. licensees. So as far as the payment structure, as I mentioned, it's $65,000 per year with an estimated total 6-year project cost of $390,000. The system has been reviewed for security and found to be satisfactory, and Therefore, based on these facts, I recommend the commission approve this project so the commission can expeditiously begin the implementation process and move forward with implementing a statewide inventory management system.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move to approve the resolution for a statewide inventory tracking system.
All right.
I second.
All right, moved by Commissioner Barker, seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this this motion to approve the project?
Yes, just one point. Executive Director Jeff Brown, I fully approve this. This is very important for the commission and especially the industry to move forward. Just a suggestion that we do have updates on a regular basis as far as how the project's going. I think that would be helpful for the commissioners individually and as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, and that is not a problem at all.
Is there any further discussion on this matter? All right, hearing none. Ms. Hogan, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item on today's agenda is consideration of request for stay in 2019 RFA from Curio Wellness.
So I believe for this item, we have our Chief Counsel, Christopher Riggs, who will be providing a summary. Counsel Riggs, can you please summarize the RFA, the nature of this request for the stay, and staff's recommendation?
Yes, and thank you, Madam Chair. I will provide a summary and recommendation on Curio Holdings NJ LLC request for a stay of the 2019 request for applications vertically integrated awards for the Central Region. Curio applied under the 2019 RFA to become vertically integrated alternative treatment center in the Central Region. On October 15th of 2021, Curio was provided with its final agency decision denying its 2019 application. And on November 29th of 2021, Curio filed a notice of appeal of that denial with the appellate division. Then on December 1st of 2021, the commission received Curio's request for a stay of the 2019 RFA Central Region vertically integrated awards. To summarize Curio's argument, they're essentially challenging the validity of women-owned business enterprise certifications that were provided to the awardees, Altus New Jersey LLC and Holistic NJ LLC, among other applicants. The Department of Treasury, Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services provides these certifications, and it was clear in the RFA that if these certifications were provided, the awardee, the applicant would be provided with 30 points for that measure. Curio contends that if the other awardees were not given the 30 points, then they would have been awarded a permit in the Central Region. The CRC offered Altus and Holistic the opportunity to respond to the allegations and challenges that were made in Curio's December 1st of 2021 letter. And on December 17th of 2021, both Altus and Holistic provided responses to these allegations. And then later on December 27th of 2021, Curio replied to those responses about this and Holistic. The commission received SIR replies from both Altus and Holistic. Altus's SIR reply was received on December 30th of 2021, and Holistic sent a SIR reply in on January 5th of 2022. These SIR replies were disregarded by commission staff and have not been considered in this recommendation because the Altus and Holistic were not given permission to file a SIR reply on this filing. Based on the review of the submissions, it is recommended that the commission deny the request for a stay because Curio has failed to meet its burden of providing clear and convincing evidence that it meets each of the 4 Crow factors. The first factor, a likelihood of success on the merits, is not met. Curio would be required to demonstrate that the commission's determination of the Central Region vertically integrated awards was arbitrary, capricious, or unreasonable. There exists no evidence that the commission's determination was arbitrary, capricious, or unreasonable, or inconsistent with any of the governing laws. As I stated before, the RFA clearly stated that if a certification from Treasury was provided, 30 points would have been awarded, and that's exactly what happened here. The second factor, the imminence of irreparable harm, is also not met. The case law here is clear. Monetary loss alone is not considered an irreparable injury. And then the third and fourth factor, the balance of equities and public interest, is also not met. Staying or delaying this process is only going to do harm to the medicinal cannabis patient population, and monetary harm to Curio does not outweigh that harm that would be done to these patients. It's worth noting that the 2019 RFA permitting process has contingencies attached to it. So if the claims made by Curio do have merit, Altus and Holistic are required under the 2019 RFA in the clear terms of the final agency decisions to maintain their certifications of women-owned business enterprises. If they cannot maintain those certifications, their awards will be rescinded, and the commission will then consider whether those awards should be given to other applicants. For all of these reasons, it's recommended at this time that Curio's stay request be denied. And thank you, Madam Chair, and I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Chief Counsel Riggs. Do I hear a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt this resolution concerning the denying request for stay for the 2019 RFA award pending appeal permits to operate a vertically integrated ATC in the Central Region.
Moved by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Do I have a second?
I second, Madam Chairwoman.
Seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Ms. Hogan, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
yes,
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next up on today's agenda is consideration of ownership transfer of MPX to Ianthus.
Thank you. Director Brown, can you please walk us through the substantive information concerning this agenda item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We have before us a proposed transfer of ownership from the current owners of MPX New Jersey to Ianthus New Jersey LLC. MPX New Jersey has made a formal application for an ownership transfer, which has been reviewed by staff. Additionally, pursuant to NJAC 1730A-71 and 72, Ianthus New Jersey LLC and its parent company, Ianthus Capital Holdings, have undergone a comprehensive investigatory review. The board members, directors, principals, and other key individuals have also submitted to criminal history background checks. Before I get to staff's recommendation, I want to note that the marriage between MPX New Jersey and Ianthus, which was brought to New Jersey by MPX, has not been a harmonious one. There have been allegations, some covered in the press by former employees of both these companies. When approaching a proposed change in ownership like this at the commission, we're limited in what can be considered and what is legally permissible to consider. In this case, it includes criminal history background checks as prescribed in statute and rule, compliance with our regulations pertaining to ownership transfers, which is particularly Title 17, Chapter 30A, Subchapter 7, and any caps or limitations on ownership imposed by statute or rule. So when assessing something like this, our test is, has the permit holder requested the ownership transfer? Have they submitted a formal application with all the required materials? Is the application complete? Have the new proposed owners complied with all statutory and regulatory requirements? Have they complied with all requests for information? Has there been any derogatory information discovered that would disqualify the owners under Administrative Code 1730A-72, any disqualifying convictions, and would approving the transfer violate statutory caps on ownership? Commission staff, particularly our investigative staff, are exceptional and incredibly experienced at what they do. As with any deal, they have approached the review of this proposed transaction with rigor, integrity, and a laser focus on protecting the public interest and that of the patients we're entrusted to serve. In this case, the permit holder has requested the ownership transfer. The application is complete. It's been submitted and reviewed by, and it was submitted by the permit holder and reviewed by staff. The new proposed owners have complied with all statutory and regulatory requirements. The new proposed owners have complied with all requests for information from commission staff. There's been no derogatory information uncovered that would disqualify the proposed owners, and approving the transfer would not violate statutory caps on ownership. For these reasons and the reasons outlined in the recommendation memo that all the commission members have, the recommendation from staff is to approve this transfer of ownership.
Thank you, Director Brown. Do we have a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt the resolution for consideration of ownership transfer of MPX to Ianthus.
So moved by Commissioner Nash. Is there a second?
I second
Second.
that motion. Oh, defer to Commissioner Del Coso on that one.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Thank you, Commissioner Barker. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing no discussion, Ms. Hogan, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Nay.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next up on today's agenda is consideration of delegated waiver authority to address COVID-19.
Thank you. Director Brown, can you please provide a summary about of the need for this delegated waiver?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Due to the rapid spread of COVID-19 and its potential impacts on the medicinal cannabis industry and the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, the resolution under consideration would delegate authority to me, the Executive Director, to issue regulatory waivers pursuant to Administrative Code 1730A-7.11 for a period of 90 days. The resolution would also extend current COVID-19 regulatory waivers for an additional 90 days. Those include the ability for alternative treatment centers to serve patients outside of the dispensary via curbside pickup, telephonic consultation for patients, and reduced caregiver fees, which are all caregiver fees were reduced to $20 instead of $100. The delegated authority here, if approved, would expire on April 7th, 2022, if not extended. Going back to March 2020, when the entire state and country and world were facing the COVID-19, the original wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to respond quickly to changing conditions to keep the industry up and going and serving patients. And our ATCs responded tremendously to keep their doors open and keep serving patients. We don't know what the next several weeks or months will encounter. Hopefully, we don't need to use this, but this delegated authority would enable the commission to act nimbly and expeditiously and efficiently to address any issues that may arise in the market to ensure that patients can continue to access their medicine. For those reasons, the recommendation is to approve this resolution.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution delegating waiver authority to the Executive Director to address COVID-19?
I move to adopt the resolution designating waiver authority to the ED of the CRC to address COVID-19.
Moved by
Second
Commissioner
that motion.
Dustin, seconded by Commissioner Barker. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Ms. Hogan, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The resolution passes. Next, we have the open public comment period.
Great. So as we open the floor to public comments, I'll remind everyone that you can submit written comments to the commission during or after this meeting via our website, nj.gov/cannabis/meetings. The deadline for submitting written comments for today's public meeting is 5 p.m. on Monday, January 10th. Written comments will be shared with the commission members and will be made public along with the meeting minutes. We'll hear from those individuals who have signed up to speak in the order in which they signed up. The speakers today will be limited to 3 minutes, so please be mindful of the clock and be concise. Please note that the comment period is meant to give members of the public an opportunity to address the commission about matters that the commission should be aware of. So please keep your remarks focused on matters that pertain to the commission's work or items that the commission should be aware of. Ms. Blake will call out the names of our speakers, and when it is your turn to speak, Ms. Blake will ask you to unmute yourself. I don't believe we have anyone dialing in by phone today, so that's great. But if you, in order for our staff to unmute you, you have to make sure that your full name appears on Zoom and matches the way the name that you use to register. So please ensure that your name matches the name you use to sign up. If you need to change your name on the Zoom platform, we suggest exiting the Zoom meeting and then immediately rejoining. That should prompt you to enter your name. If we cannot identify you as an individual who has registered to speak, we have not yet mastered telepathy and mind reading. So please make sure that your name matches what you use to sign up. So with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Blake to line up our first set of speakers.
Good afternoon, everyone. As I say your name, please raise your hand. We will go 5 at a time. I ask that you not raise your hand if you have not heard your name, as it slows the process up a bit. So the first 5, Ryan Edward Finn, Mary Bottian, Bill Young, Aaron Streeter, and Taylor Haas. If any of these 5 individuals are present, please raise your hand. That is Ryan Edward Finn, Mary Bottian, Bill Young, Aaron Streeter, and Taylor Haas. I see Miss Aaron Streeter here. Go ahead.
Yes, hello. My name is Aaron Streeter. I'm from the city of Camden. And I just had a quick question for the CRCs. I can't really get an answer from anyone else. I have excuse me, somebody was calling. And I'm for my license, but I have a charge other than cannabis that's over 20 years old. What's the statute of limitations on that? So I don't know, maybe you guys could email me or something like that with the question or with the answer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Streeter. Director Brown, can we have someone follow up offline?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I don't see anyone else from that original 5, so I will continue. Piero Ortega, Lonnie Ephraim, Sal Anthony De Silva, Hassan Austin, and Monique Hamilton. I see Ryan Edward Finn. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to clear something up for the committee that I meant to sign up for last month's discussion, and it seems to have dragged me over to this month, but I'm gracious for the opportunity to speak. Thank you all for the information. Since I am here, I would like to voice the concern I wish to bring up last month at the December 7th meeting about the CRC's enforcement of a ruling over tip jars. I am an employee at an ATC, and I feel that it was unfair and overreaching for the CRC to take away, a necessary part of our income right before a very busy holiday season. I think that was unnecessary and unfair. I also feel that that was targeted directly at my company and was not enforced plainly over the entire state. So I just wanted to make that available. And finally, I'd also like to advocate for some patient rights in the home grow front. I believe that, being able to grow a plant with, the same properties that I could get at an ATC or hopefully at a recreational dispensary, would be in my best interest as a patient, as a consumer of cannabis, and as an advocate. So I thank the CRC and for the time, and that's all I got.
Thank you for your comment. Next up is Piero Ortega. Go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Piero Urtiaga. I just wanted to thank the committee today for the very valuable information that Jeff Brown has gave us. I really appreciate that. Anyways, I just want to introduce myself. I am currently a 20-year-old student that's studying at NJCU Applied Physics, and then I get to transfer to NJIT, which I want to pursue chemical engineering to try to at least get into the cannabis business. So I just wanted to ask you guys, I'm trying to apply right now for a license, for a cultivation license, a conditional cultivation license for a micro business. Basically, my question is, if I get approved this license, what should be my first steps of actions when approved this license? Because I know recreational sale is not available yet, so I believe I cannot grow just yet if I'm granted that license. And I'm also here to advocate, like the previous guy, for cultivation at home, because my mom, she recently passed this year in August, and I am currently a medical patient, so I wanted to look for RSO. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's Rick Simpson oil. It's supposed to help a lot of cancer patients. So I wanted to try to find this oil in New Jersey, but it was not available in New Jersey. I couldn't find it anywhere in New Jersey. So I'm just here to advocate for that, for home grow, to at least help some patients like my mother that could have used it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega, for sharing, and our condolences for your loss. Next up, Ms. Blake.
Just to reiterate some names that went by, Mary Bolton, Bill Young, Lonnie Ephraim, Sal Anthony De Silva, Hassan Austin. Next up is Monique Hamilton. Go ahead, Ms. Hamilton.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, I am Dr. Monique Hamilton, and I'm board certified in internal medicine. I'm the co-founder and lead physician for the Dr. Moni Hammy Medical Center, DMMC, in South Orange, New Jersey. As a medical physician registered with the New Jersey Medical Cannabis Program, I often encounter patients who are initially skeptical about starting medical cannabis for the management of their chronic conditions. There's a lot of stigma associated with medical cannabis among patients. Many patients believe the only way to consume cannabis is via inhalation and are unaware of the oral and topical forms that are available. As a result of this lack of information, patients often delay seeking medical cannabis as a treatment alternative. Due to the stigma associated with cannabis and health and wellness in general, education is the most critical component in breaking down that stigma to help save people's lives. The DMMC currently conducts cannabis education workshops, run DMMC for municipalities, senior centers, veterans groups, and others. The CRC should consider establishing a cannabis education initiative. The DMMC would be more than willing to participate in the initiative. I'm passionate about educating patients about their health to empower them so they can overcome their health challenges. It is also important to ensure New Jersey patients are having ongoing assessments and evaluations while using medical cannabis to receive the highest quality patient care. There should include more than one visit per year for medical cannabis certification per the quote bona fide relationship criterion. Currently, the bona fide relationship is defined as, among other things, the physician has seen and or assessed the patient for the debilitating medical condition on at least 4 visits. There's a growing trend of telemedicine companies circumventing this criterion by offering a one-time fee for a 12-month certification without follow-up. Physicians who provide a one-time certification do not put patient care first. I have had patients in follow-up who require adjustment of their allotment due to changes in their condition. I have also had patients who need guidance about how to manage and recognize the development of tolerance to cannabis. These issues would not be recognized or addressed if the patient was only seen once in 12 months. It is very important to maintain patient safety, and it is not safe medical practice to evaluate a patient once in 12 months. The patient deserves to be provided the best education and the best information without compromise. I'm confident that the CRC will do its best to ensure that patients enrolled in the New Jersey Medical Cannabis Program receive the highest quality patient care. I want to thank the CRC for its efforts in safeguarding the New Jersey medical cannabis marketplace. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Chirali Patel, Rick Robinson, Lamont Thompson, and David Fetter. Chirali Patel, Rick Robinson, Lamont Thompson, David Fetter, and Sally Jane Gellert. If any of those individuals are present, please raise your hand. Chirali Patel, go ahead.
Hi CRC, Happy New Year to you all and to those tuning in. Chirali Patel commenting on behalf of Blaze Responsibly. As a registered medical patient, I request the CRC to continue to consider the pricing issues taking place in the state. An identical product can cost $60 in one dispensary and $70 in another. The cheaper dispensary is not always close by, and without delivery in place, medicine continues to either be too expensive for most individuals, or the affordable options are not always within a 30-minute drive. At any given time, some of the ATCs place limits on strains, so you can only buy a limited amount, such as a quarter of that strain. If that specific strain, due to its unique cannabinoid and terpene profile, provides relief for the patient's condition, then limiting the strain is just unjust for the patient. When you limit strains, you're either saying you don't have enough supply, or you're creating exclusivity and driving up demand. Either way, it doesn't and shouldn't be the case in the medical market. The monthly allotment allowed to patients is at the discretion and judgment of the recommending prescriber, which also leads to inadequate supply issues. Because if the prescribers have limited to no training or formal education on dosage, we really can't expect them to know how much medicine each individual patient needs for their condition. We need to provide real training to everyone participating within the medical market to ensure patients are taken care of in a professional manner, not treated like a transaction. Some ATCs allow you to purchase online for a pickup in a store at a scheduled time. However, when you arrive at your time, you're still subject to a wait, which can be up to 45 minutes or more at times, which has happened to me at a curbside pickup last month. If ATCs can barely manage and serve the existing patient demand, I'm not sure how they can handle the adult use market. And I just want to make sure that we set it up the right way, even if it takes time, because the medical market will crumble under adult use if we don't keep it viable. To switch gears with respect to adult use applications, the personal disclosure and entity disclosure forms were released on a Saturday, a few days before the application portal opened up. Even though these forms weren't materially different than the 2019 versions, these forms were new for a lot of applicants, and there wasn't time for public Q&A or guidance or opportunities just to ask for clarifications. And under the documents tab on the portal where applicants had to upload required documents, there were asterisks on forms such as project labor agreement for micro applicants, even though those are not mandatory. So not only was it confusing, if these forms weren't uploaded, you couldn't submit the application. And so people just should have at least been given an opportunity to, get their questions answered versus just technical support. So I respectfully request a public webinar or a Q&A session where the public is actually able to interact in a meaningful way. I know you all have a really difficult job, but please use myself and others as a resource to help make this process easier for everyone in the state. Thank you.
Thank you. David Fetter will be up next. Go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for having
Hello,
me.
go ahead. Mhm.
You guys are great. Thanks for all your work you guys are doing. New Jersey 33(1)-75 allows for the production of wine or malt alcoholic beverages in the home by persons over the age of 21, not to exceed 200 gallons per year, free from state excise tax. If cannabis is legal for adults, then let's treat it like it's legal for adults. Let's allow people to grow it at home, unencumbered by real estate limitations. Considering the fact that the CRC just decided on using metric for their approved program for tracking, I wanted to clarify that applicants which have previously submitted applications identifying other types of software as an example will not be disqualified or lose points for lack of a retroactive knowledge since the program just decided on using metric. Additionally, with respect to real estate, can you guys please confirm that local opt-outs do not apply to micro business cannabis licenses? We're seeing that a lot of towns have made limitations, have passed resolutions allowing for cannabis businesses to apply, a limited number of them, and have also identified a limitation on micro licenses. So from the way that we read the law, it doesn't appear that that's relevant or even lawful. So please clarify whether or not that's the case. Additionally, many towns have created an incredibly burdensome application process that in order to apply for a state license from the CRC requires them to submit exorbitant fees such as $10,000 in some instances with no guarantee that they're going to get their license. So I think it's very important that the CRC looks into this because for purposes of social justice and economic equality here, to require people to be able to pay $10,000 for local support, which is required for them to submit an annual application, seems to fly in the face of the purpose of the program, especially since $10,000 is even more, 10 times as much as some annual applications. We also think that it's incredibly important for the CRC to reconsider the ban on edibles. For manufacturers, this is going to mean that they're going to be competing with the black market, the unregulated market. And I think it's going to be very problematic for the industry to have to compete with a robust, unregulated market while simultaneously trying to pay taxes and support local communities and get local jobs. I think it should be reconsidered. Again, you guys are doing great work. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. If anybody has any questions, I'm david@weedlaw.com and would love to help you out. Thank you.
Thank you. The next 5 are Paul Josephson, Zach Katzen, Patricia Mueller, Jamar Wilson, and Chelsea Martinez. If any of those individuals are present, please raise your hand. Again, they're Paul Josephson, Zach Katzen, Patricia Mueller, Jamar Wilson, and Chelsea Martinez. Chelsea Martinez, go ahead.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I appreciate the time. My name is Chelsea Martinez, President and CEO of White Lily, a woman and minority-owned cultivation applicant. We have some questions that are surrounding financing and more so trying to understand if a licensee is required to show that they are fully funded in accordance with their business model upon submission, or if the funding plan or future funding sources is sufficient. Is it possible to be able to discuss with any of you all offline about this topic? If so, I'd love to connect.
Ms. Martinez, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure we understand we adequately understand your question. You're asking if licensees have to show fully whether they're fully funded upon application submission?
Correct, or if a funding plan for future funding and sources of funding is sufficient.
Okay, got it.
And then additionally, if I also could, wanted to see if there were specifics around if an applicant was able to, for instance, obtain a mortgage to start the business. Would that application be denied based upon the funding from a federal institution?
We can, Director Brown, can we follow up offline on that question?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Next up would be David. Well, actually, I see Paul Josephson, who I called earlier, so go ahead.
Can you hear me, Ms. Blake?
Can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Executive Director Brown, and staff. I'm not going to speak at length today. I did just want to thank you all for your consideration and hard work on the agenda items that we had before you today with respect to Curio and with respect to MPX. though we disagree with the decision on the stay application, of course, we do appreciate the time, effort, and energy that the commission puts into its very, very difficult work. And we look forward to working with you further on a regular basis in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Josephson. Next up are David Frischella, Maeve Cannon, Kent Kiffner, Esquire, Peter Barsoom, Albert Katafi, and Chris Goldstein. That is David Frischella, Maeve Cannon, Kent Kiffner, Esquire, Peter Barsoom, Albert Katafi, and Chris Goldstein. If any of those individuals are present, please raise your hand. I see Kent Kiffner. Go ahead. Kent Kiffner, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission for the opportunity to provide a statement today. My name is Kent Kiffner, General Counsel for the Source Holding LLC and GGB New Jersey LLC. As you heard today, on November 25th, 2020, the Superior Court of New Jersey Appellate Division issued an opinion reversing the December 17th, 2018 final agency decision of the Department of Health's Division of Medicinal Marijuana. The Department of Health's decision had denied licenses to 6 highly qualified applicants to operate medicinal marijuana alternative treatment centers. The court did not pull punches. In its scathing 75-page rebuke, the court held the state acted in an arbitrary, capricious, and unreasonable manner in conducting its review and evaluation of my client's 2018 RFA submission. The court remanded the matter to the department to conduct further agency proceedings in accordance with the spirit of the court's opinion. But importantly, the court noted that nothing prevented the government from simply awarding these highly qualified applicants ATC licenses and allowing them to continue with the permitting process. A practical solution that would have avoided needless and costly continued litigation while also addressing the clear and obvious supply issues permeating the state's industry. And a solution that is hardly novel. Other states facing similar challenges, Missouri, Florida, and Nevada, just to name a few, have resolved meritorious appeals through the award of licenses. In light of the court's ruling, we have made numerous attempts to engage with principals in the Attorney General's office, the department, and the CRC for more than a year, but unfortunately, no meeting or substantive communication has occurred. We have appealed to you, esteemed members of the commission, but have been repeatedly rebuffed and told that you are unable to take meetings to discuss litigation. That's understandable, but it is not true. There is no ethical barrier preventing the principals from meeting to discuss this matter. Moreover, there is in fact no litigation to discuss, as the court has ruled on the matter nearly 14 months ago. The matter remains with the agency responsible for rendering a decision, the CRC. It is troubling and unfortunate that you and your fellow board members have apparently been instructed that you are unable to meet because the 2018 RFA issue is a matter of ongoing litigation. After today's disappointing vote, further litigation is almost assured, with the state and appellants absorbing substantial and unnecessary legal costs defending an obviously flawed evaluation process, and all for an outcome that does nothing to benefit affected patients or advance the industry in the state of New Jersey. Fortunately, you, the esteemed members of this commission, have the authority to immediately address the issue. It is therefore our sincere hope that you consider the best interests of patients and direct your staff to engage with us so that we can together find an amicable resolution to the 2018 RFA matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Peter Barsoom. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Peter Barsoom. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Peter Barsoom, and I'm the co-founder of Liberty Plant Sciences, along with Tricia Mueller. We're a certified women-owned business and scored in the top 5 in the North and the South in the 2018 RFA. Your decision today is quite disappointing to me and to many other applicants who wanted to work together with you to expand the medical marijuana program in order to serve the critical needs of the tens of thousands of New Jersey residents who are clamoring for better access to this vital program. There is immense patient need across all of our state. That's why in 2018, the New Jersey Department of Health undertook a selection process to award ATC licenses as part of the state's medical marijuana program. Later, the appellate division of the New Jersey Superior Court determined that the process was flawed and ordered the Department of Health to expeditiously correct the scoring problems. They were right. Arbitrary process like this, where qualified applicants are disqualified because of a flawed process, don't serve the patients, because it does not ensure that the most qualified applicants get the job, but only those who are fortunate enough not to be subjected to a technical error. The same holds true for the applicants. Many of these applicants worked for months and spent their savings on submitting an application only to be denied based upon a flawed process. In its decision, the court also specifically stated that the Department of Health had the legal authority to simply award licenses to the appellants who were affected by the scoring deficiencies, rather than go through an arduous rescoring process. Even under the faulty scoring process, Liberty Plant Sciences was a top 5 applicant. The court found that we would have been even higher had the process not been flawed. We have tried multiple times to sit down with you, the commissioners, in order to introduce ourselves and resolve this issue amicably for the benefit of all New Jerseyans. The courts have ruled in our favor. Being litigious is not our first course of action. We would prefer to simply get to work and help you expand this critically important program. We simply want to correct what the court has deemed a flawed process. To continue down a litigious road will only cost taxpayers even more in legal fees and will delay providing much needed patient care to the New Jerseyans who need it most. The commission has the opportunity to expand this program. It's at our fingertips, yet your decision today will create more delay, more cost, and more confusion needlessly. The court has made clear that the Department of Health, and by extension, the commission, may legally grant relief in this matter and award licenses to the appellants. There is no question that awarding the licenses to the 2018 appellants is authorized and legal to do so. Further litigation does not make any fiscal sense, and the commission has the opportunity to turn the page, and we stand ready with you to do that. You should not waste resources fighting the court's decision and defending a flawed process that was designed before the commission came into existence. Instead, we should work hand in hand.
Mr. Barsoom, your time is up. Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chris Goldstein, you are up next. Go ahead.
Hi,
Chris
thank you.
Goldstein, go ahead.
Yes, I have it unmuted. Thank you. Thanks again. Earlier today, you approved the waiver for COVID-19 guidelines and medical marijuana dispensaries. I just want to report back that 2 years into this pandemic, the dispensaries have been very slow to adopt full safety guidelines. A lot of dispensaries experience long lines, queues in the parking lot. People are not socially distanced. Although most people are wearing masks in dispensaries today, there aren't barriers at the counters. And although you approved curbside pickup, and that's great, we want to see that extended. Most of the dispensaries don't operate any form of curbside pickup. So though it's available in theory, it's not available in practice. That means even patients who are very vulnerable, who are trying to do their best for their health, have to go inside of a dispensary if they don't have a caregiver. That also puts a burden on caregivers who have to serve many patients today. So I'd like you to consider some new rules for this, if it's possible in the future, again, to alleviate some of this. Require proof of COVID vaccination to physically enter a dispensary. That should include staff, patients, and caregivers. Require dispensaries to operate curbside pickup to support all patients, no matter their vaccination status. Require medical cannabis permit operators to log and report any staff with COVID-19 and release that information publicly. A few dispensaries have closed temporarily for cleaning, but there has been zero information. That means caregivers and patients don't know what kind of contacts they're having through these dispensaries. And as this pandemic continues, that's even more important. I also wish that we could require barriers at the counters, just simple safety measures that are found in the normal grocery stores these days. And I hope that you can strongly encourage dispensaries to innovate with patient service to reduce lines and reduce contact. Some dispensaries have long lines in the parking lot. Other dispensaries see only a handful of patients every single day. They could do a lot better by sending some patients to dispensaries with less traffic, and that's just simple coordination. So I'm glad that the waiver is going to continue. I'm glad that you are empowered to take this kind of action because these are essential businesses for patients and caregivers in New Jersey. We just need to make them safer than ever today. So again, I appeal for these provisions. I'll send that in my written comments. Finally today, and I know there's only 30 seconds, We've mentioned price a number of times. You issued a report last year saying that the average price of medical cannabis was $320 to $480 an ounce. A couple of us filed price gouging complaints with the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs. That was turned down because medical marijuana price is not regulated. That means the only consumer protections for patients is this commission. And I know you work hard on this, but that denial by the Consumer Affairs Division makes that responsibility even more important. Thank you for your work.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, Maeve Cannon. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. As I was introduced, my name is Maeve Cannon from Stevens and Lee, and I represent Harvest of New Jersey. Harvest was one of the 2018 applicants who filed an appeal, which was remanded and on which you premised your decision today. On behalf of Harvest, we are very disappointed with the decision today, especially in light of the fact that on remand, the court invited this body, well, the DOH, and then this body to come to a decision that was fair and equitable for everyone in New Jersey, especially the patient population who have great need at this time. As we heard as late as today, as the shortage that there is, you have applicants who are vetted, ready to go, and you have a court that by way of its decision, allowed you to make a decision where you could have righted this wrong. Harvest was the next highest ranked applicant in this process, but frankly, for the ranking of the regions in New Jersey, would have received an award in this process. Given the need, given the fact that you have a ready source of licensees that you could approve, who have already been vetted and who a court has essentially allowed you to make award to, I would urge you to reconsider your decision today. And at your next meeting, take this up again. There's no question that there is going to be additional needless litigation by all the parties as a result of your decision here today. And I would urge you to reconsider what you have decided at your next meeting, take this up again, and basically do the right thing by these applicants, by New Jersey, by the public. And I have one question. Is the decision, is that going to be posted on the website on Monday? The recommendation, the staff recommendation that Mr. Brown was referring to during his presentation? You're nodding, so that's a yes? Okay, thank you. And I thank you for all that you do. And I also thank you for the denial of the stay in the Curio matter. I represent Altus on that WBE application. So I thank you. On behalf of Altus, we thank you for that.
Thank you for your comments. Next up is Albert Katafi. Go ahead. Albert Katafi, go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, great. CRC, thank you for your work so far. My name is Albert Katafi. I'm speaking on behalf of the Flower Shop Dispensaries applicant hopefuls. They had some questions as to clarification. We noticed in the CREAM Act, dispensary businesses listed as also packaging. And we kind of had some question as to what packaging and processing was as far as the dispensary was concerned. So I don't know if maybe we can speak to somebody out of the chat, out of the group here. They just had some questions to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that is the last of the registered speakers for today's meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Blake. And thank you to all who have contributed your thoughts and concerns and questions to us today. This concludes the business that is before the commission today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chairwoman, I move to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I second.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado, seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on the motion to adjourn? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you all for joining today's meeting. Please visit our website to view the approved 2022 calendar of our regular meetings. Our meetings will continue to be conducted virtually until further notice. The time is now 3:33 by my clock, and we are now adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone.